Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be doing a movie reaction, and this time I'm going to be watching 2013's Man of Steel. So, Tete was the one who suggested this to me because she said this was a really great take on the character of Clark Kent slash Superman. And he's very different from how we usually see him, which is, a very optimistic, sort of naive guy who just does the right thing because it's the right thing to do. So this movie presents a different view of him. So I can't wait to see how it goes and how I will react to it. So, just like with all my other movie reactions, I'm not going to be reacting to every scene. I'm just going to be picking, I guess, or choosing. Well, I mean, I haven't watched it before, so I'm going to be guessing which scenes are important. And if it is, I'll record it. So hopefully this will not be as long as my last duel reaction, which was over 2 hours, because that movie was so condensed in a way that I can't really just skip a scene. Every scene seems so important, even though it was long. So here, I think I will not react to every scene, obviously. I think from what Tete has told me, this movie is actually much longer than it should be. So there's a lot of scenes that are probably not important in a way. So, without further ado, let's start watching. So, it seems like Superman's mother on Krypton is giving birth to him. The scene is very blurry right now. I think it's from her perspective. And okay, her husband's holding her hands and she's in pain. And there's like some high tech thing that's showing what the baby looks like. Oh wow, so that's what Krypton looks like. It's very high tech. And she's screaming. Well, you would think that by then, like, the technology has progressed that she wouldn't have to be in pain. Okay, so here's the baby. He's being born. That's Clark. And he's screaming. Oh, okay, so there's like some CGI creatures screaming as well, which are the ones that we see on Krypton. Do you not understand? Krypton's core is collapsing, so we're getting some world building here. We may only have a matter of weeks. So harvesting the core was suicide. Kal-El slash Clark Kent's father says. So what can they do? Look to the stars, he says. So a lot of these people are dressed like, kind of like the Star Wars characters, very sci-fi. Oh, there's an explosion behind him. Well, what's going on? Seems like some people want to get rid of him. So this guy's saying this council has been disbanded. Has been disbanded. Oh wow, so he shot the old lady. I wonder why this guy wants to punish this council. Oh, it's Zod. So Zod's saying these lawmakers and their endless debates have led Krypton to ruin. So Zod wants to save Krypton, and he wants El to help him. He says he wants to sever the bloodlines that have led to this degenerative state. And then El says, but who will decide who these bloodlines are? Exactly. It's a very slippery slope. He's basically a fascist, it seems like Zod is. Yeah, El's right. He is becoming a monster. I think he's driven by extremity. Maybe originally his ideas weren't that extreme, but they became increasingly extreme, especially since Krypton is going to shit. And now El has been taken by Zod's men. Okay, but he's breaking free now. Because that spoon thingy just randomly transforms. And he's using it to communicate with his wife, Laura. Wow, Krypton's a mess now, thanks to Zod. So I guess this is where they send Clark to Earth. Oh, there's a random creature. And now he's going to ride it. Nobody cares anymore, Keelix, because the world's coming to an end. Okay, so he has a spandex outfit too. Is this a thing from Krypton? So now he's diving underwater, and I think he's accessing the codex. Okay, there's a lot of babies here. They're being harvested or something. Okay, so how come his own son wasn't born like that? Or only some people born like this, like being harvested underwater? Okay, so he's grabbing something. It's like a skull or something. It looks like a fossil of a hominid. Something like Lucy or Homo erectus. Okay, now that he grabbed it, the system's beeping. So what can he do with that thing? So the codex is the skull thing. Okay, he got rescued by the creature. So I guess he's going home with that thing, and then he's gonna send Clark to Earth using the codex, I'm guessing. So the creature has been injured, it seems like. Okay, now he's back with Lara, and there's the codex. Okay, so they're analyzing the skull and saying that this is where Earth is. No, he says, this their son will be a god to humanity. So I guess the codex tells them to go to Earth. So they're uploading the codex and sending him away. And she's saying we'll never get to see him walk or say our names. But he will live out there somewhere in the stars. And now they're sending him away. And now the kid's being sent away. So there's this little S sign that they printed out. Okay, so the S thing is an activator, I guess. Okay, so now he's being sent. Well, the baby's being put inside the ship, which is headed towards Earth. And I guess the parents are going to die because, Zod's forces are coming. But they are getting ready to fight, it seems like. They're putting on armor. Now we see Zod, and he says, concentrate fire on the main door. He wants to really shoot up the, you know, Jor-El and Lara. He's not letting them escape. Okay, hopefully the kid gets sent away in time. Because he's still... Okay, General, we have identified something ignition, engine ignition. And now Zod's like, I know you stole the codex. And he's saying, surrender it and I'll let you live. And then Jor-El says, this is for all Krypton, not just the bloodlines you deem worthy. Oh, so it seems like Clark was the first natural birth in centuries. And he sent him away, and he's telling Zod that, oh yes, I sent him away. And now Zod's like, heresy! Destroy it! And now there's an epic fight. But I'm pretty sure Jor-El's gonna die. And probably Lara too. But just in time for the baby to be sent away. Oh, so that's why Lara was in pain, because they didn't have natural birth in centuries. So they were not prepared for that. It seems like Jor-El actually beat Zod, who's on the floor now. Okay, so it's being sent away now, the ship. Okay, so Zod says the Codex is Krypton's future. Abort the launch, but Lara's still gonna send it away. Okay, I need to do research as to what the Codex is. I'm not sure why it automatically sends the spaceship to Earth. Why? Okay, I'm just looking up right now. So the Growth Codex is an ancient Kryptonian artifact that decodes the genetic makeup of the artificially incubated babies on the planet. It translates a child's genetic attributes before his or her birth. Zod was born to be a soldier as dictated by the Codex. Zod needed the Codex in order to shape the future of a reborn Krypton population. Ah, I see. So the baby's name is Kal-El, and now he's beyond Zod's reach. And Zod's really, really angry now. Okay, so basically the Codex was placed in the same ship as the kid. Okay, that's what happened. Okay, so Zod has been defeated. Now, I guess the equivalent of the police is surrounding him, and I think he's going to be arrested for killing Jor-El. General Zod, for the crimes of murder and high treason, the council has sentenced you and your fellow insurgents to 300 cycles of somatic reconditioning. Hmm. So I guess what's going to happen when he's being somatically... So it's a black hole for eternity. Almost. Now he's really angry. He's saying all of them are fools for sentencing him. And he's saying to Lara, "You think your son is safe? I'll find him. I will reclaim what you have taken from us. I will find him, Lara." And now he's going to be thrown in prison. Somatic reconditioning. So it seems like he's getting frozen in ice. I guess it's basically just being locked up. Oh my god. Okay, they're being sent away in these things that look like phalluses. And that looks really secure. I wonder how Zod's gonna break out of that. He's being... I guess he's in this little tiny thing that looks like a phallus inside a giant spaceship that's headed towards a black hole, I guess. I'm not sure how he's gonna break out of that. So now Clark's having a flashback after he saved those people at the oil rig, and he was overwhelmed when the teacher asked him a question and he ran away. So it seems like his X-ray vision can really give him a headache, and he ran into the storeroom, and now we need his mother to help him calm down and get out of the storeroom. As it turns out, a lot of people don't really seem to think he's normal because he seems too sensitive, and his parents apparently won't let him play with the other kids, probably because they don't want people to find out too much about his problems. Well, not problems, his powers, but they could manifest as problems. And now grown-up Clark's in the ocean after rescuing people from the oil rig, and there were two whales just above him. And now it seems like he's back home. It makes you wonder what he does. Like, does he just kind of go on random escapades just to save people? Or, who knows? What was he on that ship for? I mean, they called him a greenhorn, so I guess he was new to the whole oil rig thing. Was he there just to save them or to find out something? Or does he actually work there? How does he eventually become a reporter? So now we see him back in Kansas, and he's getting dressed. And he does look very different with the beard. And now there's another flashback of him looking out the window. And it seems like some people don't like him. So the bully is just saying and calling him Dick Splash. And they really, I guess a lot of kids don't like him because he's hard to talk to. And now the bus is going crazy because of the flat tire because Clark was so angry. So that influenced the car and now it crashed. Well, no wonder his parents are so protective of him. And now everyone's drowning. Man, he really needs to be careful. If he doesn't be careful, then a lot of people are going to get hurt. And I guess that's why he kind of considers himself a monster. Now the kids are drowning. And he really needs to bring the bus back up again. And it's because Clark is pushing the car back up to land. Is it the fat kid who was bullying him? Is he trying to save him? He probably disappeared down there. Yep. So then the fat guy's mom's like, oh, my son was in the car and he saw what Clark did. So everyone knows that Clark has these abilities and they're suspecting him of it. And now Jonathan, his adoptive father, is going to confront him about it. And he's like, I just wanted to help. And Jonathan says, yes, but we talked about this. You have to keep this side of yourself a secret, Clark. And he says, what was I supposed to do? Just let them die? It is a difficult position to be in. And Jonathan says, there's more at stake than just our lives or the lives around us. When the world finds out what you can do, it's going to change everything. Our beliefs, our notions of what it means to be human, everything. You saw how Pete's mom reacted, right? She was scared, Clark. And he says, why? And Jonathan says, people are afraid of what they can't understand. And he says, is she right? Did God do this to me? He's very angsty. He definitely isn't the optimistic, Boy Scout you see in Silver Age. And now Jonathan's opening up something in the basement and showing him the spaceship that he landed in as an infant. Jonathan said, well, we thought the government was going to show up at our doorstep, but no one ever came. So there's the S sign. And he said, Jonathan took it to a mineralist and it didn't even exist on the periodic table. So it seems like he's from another world. And then Jonathan says, you're the answer. You're the answer to the question, are we alone in the universe? And Jonathan says, it's a huge burden for anyone to bear. And Jonathan says, I have to believe that you were sent here for a reason. And then one day you're going to think of these changes as a blessing. Okay, so it seems like he doesn't have any powers until he's at this age, at 11ish to 13. And Clark says, can you stop pretending that I'm your son? But then Jonathan hugs him and says, but you are my son. But you have another father also. Jonathan is he's such a nice guy, and I think he tries very hard to explain things. I think he does a good job. He's trying his best. And now we're at the scene where Lois is first introduced, and she's working for the Daily Planet. And what's happening is that, okay, so what's happening is that I think something has been discovered in the Arctic, and she will be discovering that it's probably related to Zod, I think. So they're in the Arctic, and they're being introduced to other people there. She shows up early, and she says, we're on Canadian soil and the appellate court overruled your injunction to keep me away. So we're done measuring. Beep. Can you have your people show me what you found? She's really curious. So we get a little bit of classic Lois there, she's to the point, straightforward. But she is more soft spoken than traditional Lois. The ice surrounding the object is nearly 20,000 years old. So this is General Zod, right? Because he was frozen. Wait, this isn't Zod. Okay, if I'm just reading a synopsis, so it's just a Kryptonian scout ship. So Clark has infiltrated the Daily Planet as one of his alliances, so he can travel the world, I guess, because and we haven't been shown this in the movie yet, but it appears that Jonathan has died, triggering an identity crisis in him. So as we do see Clark on the ship when Lois was talking to the other people. Okay, so there's Clark, and he's using his laser eyes. And now he sees a ship. Now he's staring at something that popped up. And he just realizes that it fits his little pendants with the S on it. And now he's going to find out more about himself. Oh, now this machine has this rope and it wraps around um Clark. That was strange. I guess they were testing who he was, his genetics, to see if. Okay, so Lois has snuck in with her camera and she sees him now. She's very suspicious. Okay, so there's someone in the background who is dressed in Kryptonian clothes, and I guess it's an AI or something. Oh my god, there's a mummy, a dead person inside one of these pods. Oh, holy crap. So Lois was trying to take a picture with her camera, but then that activated one of the machines. And then now it's coming after her. Okay, so now, fortunately, Clark saved her. He drags the machine away. Okay, he's comforting her. She's freaking out. Oh, she was hurt. How is he going to cauterize it? And he says, I do things that other people can't. Oh, so he's going to use his eyes, right? Yeah. And she's screaming. Whoa, it's suddenly shaking at the base. Did it activate the other machines or something? Oh my god, it seems like the ship's exploding or falling apart. Oh wait, it's flying. Flying away? So it's not a Soviet era submarine. Says says Lois. As for a rescuer, he disappeared during the object's departure. So his work history and identity was falsified. And now she's very curious about who this man is. So now we're at the scene where Clark is inside the ship and there's the AI of his father, Jor-El. So that was the AI figure he saw, and now he's very close to him. And he can talk to him. So it's a shadow of Jor-El's consciousness. So now Clark's gonna learn more about his origins. And he's like, so Kal's my name? Kal-El it is. And he says, I have so many questions. And he says, where do I come from? Why did you send me here? And he says, you came from Krypton. A world with a much harsher environment than Earth's. Long ago, in the era of expansion, our race spread out through the stars, seeking new worlds to settle upon. The scout ship was one of the thousands launched into the void. We built outposts on other planets using great machines to reshape environments to our need. For 100,000 years, our civilization flourished, accomplishing wonders. But then what happened? Kal-El/Clark says artificial population control was established. The outpost on space exploration. Well, we exhausted our natural resources. As a result, our planet's core became unstable. Eventually, our military leader, General Zod, attempted a coup. But it was too late. So he and Lara foresaw the calamity and sent Kal-El to Earth. This is a Genesis chamber he introduces him to. Every child was designed to fulfill a predetermined role in our society. So it was Kal-El, because he was born naturally. So the element of choice was lost in Krypton. What if a child dreamed of something becoming something different than what society wanted? So that's why he sent Kal-El to Earth. He was Krypton's first natural birth in centuries. So he has no predetermined role. He has the freedom to choose what he wants to be, and he's in the new world, literally. So this is kind of an allegory to what Superman was originally about, which was, he was coded to be a Yiddish/Eastern European Jewish immigrant, as the pogroms and the other issues in Eastern Europe pushed a lot of people to immigrate. The New World/America was seen as a beacon of freedom, where people can finally be what they wanted to be. And Krypton is the old world, right? Yes, has all this rich history, but a lot of problems, a lot of entrenched problems, and authoritarianism, which the New World supposedly didn't have. So Jor-El's saying that he hopes that Kal-El can guide the people of Earth. And this is what this symbol means, the S symbol. The symbol of the House of El. Embodied within the hope, the fundamental belief that each person can be to be for good. Which is the opposite of Zod, who believes in heavy hierarchies. And now he found the suits, the Superman suit, and he's putting it on. And he says, why am I so different from them? Jor-El explains, Earth's sun is younger. Your cells have drunken its radiation, strengthening your muscles, skin, and senses. Earth's gravity is weaker, yet its atmosphere is more nourishing. You've grown stronger here than I can ever imagine. The only way to know how strong is to keep testing your limits. And this is why he starts flying. And now he's going to charge upwards. Wow. I guess since he's in the Arctic, it doesn't really matter what he does, right? Because no one's going to really pay attention to what he's doing. And now he's flying, and I guess training himself to fly. I mean, he's not very good at flying at this point, and he crashes. Whoa, he crashed into a mountain, and part of the mountain fell off. Now we're at the scene where Lois has finally seemed to locate where Clark is, following a trail of rumors. The stories begin to form a pattern, she says. So he has many aliases, Pete Ross. I'd like to talk to you about an accident that occurred when you were younger. Oh, this is the fat guy from earlier. Oh, so now she's finally found the Kents. And now she found Mrs. Kent. I'm Lois Lane. I'm from the Daily Planet. And I'd like to talk to you about your son. And now there's a picture of Jonathan Kent's gravestone. Now, Lois is looking at it. And then she says, I figure out that if I turned enough stones over, I'd eventually find you. And she asks him, where are you from? What are you doing here? And then he says, what if I don't want my story to be told? And she says, it's going to come out eventually. Everyone's going to get a photograph or figure out where you live. And then he says, no, I'll just disappear again. And she's like, the only way to disappear entirely is to stop helping people entirely. And I don't think that's an option for you. And he says, if my father believed that if the world found out who I was, they'll reject me out of fear. And there's a flashback. I'm tired of safe. I just want to do something useful with my life. And Jonathan says, oh wow. So Clark said, you're not my dad. You're just some guy who found me in a field. I don't care about this farming stuff, he says. And Jonathan says, Clark has a point. We're not your parents. But we've been doing the best we can, and we have been making this up as we go along. So maybe our best isn't good enough anymore. That's intelligent to say. I think a lot of older parents don't realize this. And then Clark says, look, Dad. Oh no, does he die now? Is this where he dies? And he doesn't save him, right? Because Jonathan did not want Clark using his powers. So there's a tornado now. Why are they leaving the dog inside? So then Jonathan's saying, go for the overpass. Take cover. Oh, okay, so Jonathan just gave the little girl over to Clark. And he says, no, help your mom get to the overpass. And Jonathan's, I think, saving other people. Or trying to get something from the car. Oh, the dog. Oh no, he's gonna die. Oh no, the car's... Oh, the dog managed to get out. But yeah, unfortunately, it seems like Jonathan dies here. And of course, Clark could just save him any time, but the point is that Jonathan does not want Clark to use his powers. Oh no, his foot's broken. And then he says, no, don't come to me. He's shaking his head in the distance. And he just had that argument with him. That's terrible. And he says, I let my father die because I trusted him. because he was convinced that I had to wait, that the world was not ready. And he says, "What do you think, Lois?" And now Lois is back at the Daily Planet. And he's like, and Perry's like, you just let Woodburn talk about this all over the internet. And she's like, I'm dropping it. And then Perry's like, huh, really? What happened to your leads? And then Lois says, the story is smoke. And now her penance is 2 weeks leave, no pay. And if she tries this again, she's done. So basically, Perry believes her, but he thinks that it's good that the story was dropped because people will react weirdly about this sort of thing, this alien power living among us. And so there's a dog, and it seems like Clark's coming back home. And she's telling her about Lois. And then he says, she's a friend, don't worry. Oh, so Clark's telling her that he found his parents. I know where I come from now. And then she says, that's wonderful. She's really happy for him. But she looks a bit sad. And then she says, when you were a baby, I used to lay by your crib listening to you breathe. It was hard for you. You struggled. It's because of the different atmosphere. And I worried all the time. And she says, the truth about him is beautiful. We saw that the moment we laid eyes on you. We knew that one day the whole world would see that. I'm just worried they'll take you away from me. And he says that he won't be going anywhere. He promises. So now we get to see General Zod contacting Earth, telling them they are not alone, and that somehow he has broken free of the prison. So he's been looking for Superman all this time. I request that you return this individual to my custody. For reasons unknown, he has chosen to keep his existence a secret from you. He will made efforts to blend in. He will look like you, but he is not one of you. To those of you who may know his current location, the fate of your planet rests in your hands. Uh-oh, so there's going to be a manhunt for him. To Kal-El, I say this. Surrender within 24 hours. That is scary as hell. And people are not going to take this seriously, right? I mean, it could be some random hacker, but it seems oddly specific. Gosh. Or else the world's going to suffer the consequences. Gosh. General Zod. What's gonna happen after this? Now all the news sources are talking about him. The Daily Planet's Lois Lane knows who he is. Oh gosh, so now she has a burden to talk about this. The entire world's being threatened here, Perry says to her. Please tell Zod who this man is. This is serious, Lois. The FBI is here. They're throwing around words like treason. Uh-oh, she has to go. Why isn't she selling him out, though? She knows where he is. Okay, Lois, leave, leave. Now everyone's taking this very seriously. So that wasn't just a hacker, I guess. They would actually... Do they have proof that this was legit? Oh, crap. FBI just showed up in front of her. Apparently, the visitors have already arrived. Who is this Kal-El person? Does he actually exist? How could he remain hidden from us for so long? The radio said. Okay, so there's another flashback of young Clark and someone shoving him. He's reading Plato, and then they're asking him why won't he fight back. And everyone's screaming at him, why aren't you fighting me? Oh, and in the distance, Jonathan's watching. So they just leave him alone. And then the fat guy, Peter's looking at him again. But he's helping him get up because he saved him that time. Well, that's good. And Jonathan's like, did they hurt you? And then he says, you know they can't. And he's like, I wanted to hit that kid. I wanted to hit him so bad. Man, this is making me tear up. So Jonathan's like, you have to decide what kind of man you want to be, Clark. And that echoes what Jor-El was saying. Man, it's sad that Jonathan had to go. He was a really good dad. He was. And in many ways, he's a lot like Jor-El. And now we're back to the adult Clark, and he's talking to this man in the church. And he says, I'm the man they're looking for. Oh yeah, this is a priest. I can see by his outfit. And the priest says, do you know why they want you? Nope, Clark says, but this General Zod, even if I surrender, there's no guarantee he'll keep his word. But if there's a chance I can save Earth by turning myself in, shouldn't I take it? And then the priest says, what does your gut tell you? And Clark says, Zod can't be trusted. The problem is, I'm not sure the people of Earth can be either. And the priest says, sometimes you have to take a leap of faith first. The trust part comes later. So there's like a bunch of guns now. Is this like a military base or something? Oh, okay, so he's watching over a military base. Is he watching where they're taking Lois? And he says, all right, you've got your attention. And then he says, I want to speak to Lois Lane. So he is watching over her. And he says he'll surrender, but only if you'll guarantee Lois's freedom. So now he's the one in handcuffs. And she asks him, "Why are you surrendering to Zod?" "I'm surrendering to mankind. There's a difference." And then she asks him, "What does the S stand for?" And then he says, "It's not an S. On my world, it means hope." And this is what Tete was talking about in her rendition of Superman, which is Zindel. And you can learn more about that on her Instagram, which is at tete.depunk, tete.depunk. And we've also done previous podcasts about that, so you can check that out on my channel. It's on the front page. And now we see, Superman being surrendered to Zod. So now there's a ship landing in front of him, and I think that's Zod's ship. And now he's going to see Zod for the first time. Let's see how their first meeting will be like. He's just said goodbye to Lois. And there are the Kryptonites, Kryptonians. And they're like dressed in this high tech armor, and all the Americans are watching. The American army people are watching. And they even have their guns ready, but of course it's not going to do anything. Okay, so here's the lady. Forgot her name. It's Faora. She's a sub commander. "On behalf of General Zod, I extend you his greetings." And she says that General Zod would like Lois to accompany him. And she says, "Shall I tell you, the general, that you're unwilling to comply?" Because, they never said you could take one of the humans with them. But Lois says, "I'll go." Okay, so she goes with them. She already trusts Superman a lot, I think, because actually Superman doesn't even have a name at this point. So I guess she might actually name him, but she trusts him to rescue her because, even though they didn't know each other that well, he was willing to surrender himself to the army for her so she could be free. And now he's holding her hand as they're inside the ship. And then she says the atmosphere composition on our ship is not compatible with humans. She says that Lois needs to wear a breather. Okay, so she puts it around her neck. And there is Zod. And he says, "You have no idea how long we've been searching for you." Somehow, Superman's getting a headache by looking at Zod. He feels strange. Oh, he's vomiting blood. It's because he's rejecting the ship's atmospherics. And he says, you've never adapted to ours." And he says, "I can't help him. Whatever's happening to him has to run its course." Oh, he's fainted because he's so accustomed to the Earth's atmosphere that he's not accustomed to what's in Krypton. And now he's in a dream, it seems like. He's on grass. Oh, he's in a dream or he's being talked to in his dream. I was Krypton's military leader. Your father and I. The only thing we agreed on was Krypton was dying. Okay, so Zod is talking to him in his dreams. I guess because it's more private that way. And he's telling him that he and his fellow officers were sentenced to the Phantom Zone. And then the destruction of our world freed us. So it just melted when the world exploded. We were adrift, destined to float amongst the ruins of our planet until we starved. But they managed to retrofit the Phantom projector. So the instrument of our damnation became our salvation, and now they saved themselves. We sought out the old colonial outposts, looking for signs of life. We just saw a bunch of mummies. Cut off from Krypton, these outposts withered and died long ago. We salvaged what we could. Armor, weapons, and even a world engine. For 33 years, we prepared, until finally we detected a distress beacon, which you triggered when you accessed the ancient scout ship. You let us here, Kal. And now it's within your power to save what remains of your race. On Krypton, the genetic template of every being yet to be born is encoded in the registry of citizens. Your father stole the registry's codex and stored it in the capsule that brought you here. And then Kal says, for what purpose? So that Krypton can live again. On Earth. That's what Zod says anyways. So I guess they can just recreate all those Kryptonites using that. Sorry, not Kryptonites, Kryptonians. And now in the dream, it seems like there's a tornado happening. And then he asks him, where is the Codex, Kal? And then Kal says, if Krypton lives again, what happens to Earth? And then Zod says, well, it has to, something has to be built on a foundation. And now he's surrounded by skulls, and it's terrifying. He realizes that Zod means to kill everyone. So skipping ahead here, so Superman and Lois have escaped the ship with the help of Jor-El because Lois plugged in the little pendant thing and that downloaded Jor-El into the ship, helping them escape. And now, what happened is that Zod is planning his assault on Earth by sending these two spacecraft onto the Earth and trying to make the Earth more like Krypton. So now Superman is at a race. He's in a race to stop these machines from turning Earth into Krypton before it's too late. So he's going to take down some of the machines now. One of them is located in Metropolis, so he's tackling that one. And the other one's located in the Indian Ocean. The gravity field's changing as a result of these machines. The beginning of this movie was really, really well paced, and I can actually see where the pacing problems are now. Like previously, there was a huge fight with Faora and Superman, and I felt like that was a little bit anticlimactic because it doesn't really build up to a climax. Because now this is obviously a climax, but before that also happened. I think the fight with Faora should be fused with this. That would be better pacing rather than having two separate climaxes. Okay, so now there's, everyone's running away from the machine because it's changing the gravity, and buildings are falling down. So now Jor-El, or the AI of him, is confronting Zod, and he says he's calling out Zod for his genocide. And then Jor-El says, "We're both ghosts. Can't you see that? The Krypton you're clinging on to is gone." Oh my, Zod is trying to get rid of the AI of Jor-El. But Jor-El says, "Silencing me won't do anything." He says, "My son is twice the man you were, and he will finish what we started. I can promise you that." And Zod's just so angry. "Tell me, you have Jor-El's memories," Zod says. "His conscience. Can you experience his pain?" "I will harvest the codex from your son's corpse, and I will rebuild Krypton on top of his bones." And now he presses the button to get rid of the Jor-El AI. So Superman's fighting, these metallic looking snakes that have come out from the machine, and they've wrapped around him. Man, this is going to be a tough fight. I think some of the fight sequences in this movie are too long. Like the Feora one was unnecessarily long. That could have been trimmed or fused with this one. She could have been sent to the machine to guard it, and then he could be fighting her and the machine at the same time. That's better than just having him fight them separately. And now we see Perry, and Jenny's buried underneath the debris. And Perry's trying to get Jenny out. So the people from the Daily Planet are trying to dig Jenny out. Oh gosh. The gravity thing is getting closer, so it's so hard to get Jenny out. So Superman needs to stop this or Jenny is going to get crushed. Okay, so Superman's doing something. What is he doing inside the machine? Okay, he's flying into it, I think. Ooh. So he's gonna save Jenny in time by shutting down the machine. Okay, he destroyed the core of the machine. Just in time. So Jenny's not gonna be dead or crushed. It's time for him to destroy the other machine now. And then there's going to be an epic fight between Zod and him, right? There's too many climaxes. Oh wait, he's in the Indian Ocean. So what's he doing? Oh, I think he was trying to get rid of the one in the Indian Ocean first. Or does destroying one of them destroy the other one? And now we are at the showdown between Zod and Superman. And Superman says he doesn't care that Krypton is going to lose its final chance if he destroys the ship, Zod's ship, because Krypton has had its chance. He stands with the people of Earth. Okay, so now the ship that has Zod in it is crashing into Metropolis. I guess there's going to be one final fight. And we're going to see if Superman's plan to, activate that and suck them back into the black hole will work. Because it seems like that little Superman emblem thing isn't plugging in with the original ship. Oh, now it's finally plugging in. Okay, so Feora has spotted the ship that Superman came in, and she's going to stop it from activating. Okay. So the old man just needs to sneak over there and press it for it to be activated. Oh yes, the old man pressed it in time while Feora was fighting those other people. And now the commander guy is saying to her, to saying for to Feora that a good death is a good reward. Oh, and now it's getting sucked in. So now all of them are getting sucked into the black hole they were talking about. I'm not good at the science behind this, but yeah. Man, it's a bit confusing. I think they should outline the concepts a bit more because I don't really understand it. And that was a bit anticlimactic. There wasn't really any fighting. I think all the fighting should be moved to the end. The Feora scene was just way too long previously. So I think that's it. Or is there going to be a final fight with Zod? Did he get sucked away finally? No, I don't think so. I think they're all gone now. And now it's the kiss scene between Lois and Superman. And she says, they say it's all downhill after the first kiss. And then he says, I'm pretty sure that it only counts if you're kissing a human. Mm. Is there still. Oh, Zod's still here. It's not over. Right? He's there. And he says, look at this. He's pointing at the sand. We could have built a new Krypton, but you chose the humans over us. I exist only to protect Krypton. That is the sole purpose for which I was born. In every action I take, Zod says, no matter how valiant or how cruel, is for the greater good of my people. He's just fascist in the end. And now I have no people. My soul. That is what you have taken from me. So now he's still gonna fight him. But isn't he weakened? Because he doesn't have the mask here. And he says, I'm gonna make them suffer, Cal. These humans you have adopted. And then he says, you're a monster, Zod. He really is. Oh, so here's the final fight. But yeah, but there's too many breaks between the fights. It should have all happened at once. That's the pacing problem. Oh man, did the city have to be destroyed anymore? Okay, so Zod has the laser power too, it seems like. Oh no, he's going crazy because he can't stand the whole overstimulation on Earth. Man, the city is pretty much gone at this point, with the machines destroying it and now this. Man, this fight's gonna take a long time, I think, because this is, this is a DCU movie after all. And Zod says, "Either you die or I do." Man, they can make this fight scene more tight. There's too many breaks, even in the fight scene itself, not just between fight scenes. Okay, they destroyed that building. And then Zod says, I was bred to be a warrior, trained my entire life to master my senses. Where did you train? On a farm. Okay, so he just ripped off his armor. Now he's flying. Well, at least it's more of a fair fight if they're both in their spandex. It seems like there's still plenty of skyscrapers to tear through. And he's swinging Superman by the cape and slamming him into more buildings. Okay, now they're in outer space. Man, they should have just taken it to outer space to begin with. Oh, that's the NASA thing. Okay, so now they're crashing back to Earth and crashing into a museum. I think that's the Met or some kind of fancy. Oh, it's the I think the New York slash Metropolis subway station or train station. And he's choking Zod now. And Zod's saying, if you love these people so much, you can mourn for them. And he's shooting a laser out of his eyes. And he's trying to burn a laser towards this family that's in the corner. And Superman's trying to stop him. Okay, so he finally stopped him. Oh, he just twisted his head around. So it seems like Zod is dead. Finally. And now Superman screams. And Lois is watching and she's coming down the stairs. Okay, so it's finally defeated. So this is the end. Let's see how the end works. So that NASA thing is crashing in the middle of the desert. And someone's saying that's a $12 million piece of hardware. He's saying, how do you know we can trust you? How do we know you won't act against America's interests? And Superman says, I'm here to help, but on my own terms. So now he has to come out of the shadows. And she was saying, yeah, I just thought he was kind of hot. And then at the end, we see they're at the graveyard. Clark and his mother. They're here to visit John. So he wasn't here to see it finally happen, but he's finally out in the open. Doesn't have to hide his identity anymore. And now there's a childhood memory of young Clark with a cape behind him. So in a way, his father did kind of see that. And then his mom asked him, what are you going to do when you're not saving the world? And he says, I'm going to find a job where I can keep my ear to the ground. So he's going to Metropolis, I guess. And start asking questions. Oh, so he's working at the Daily Planet. And I think Lois probably helped him get in. And now that people kind of know who he is. I guess he has more credentials. No one wants to go with him to the game. And now Clark has joined the Daily Planet. And people don't recognize him as Superman. And Lois is greeting him, "Welcome to the planet." They're pretending they haven't met before. Okay, that's the end. So that's the end. So, mini review time. What did I think of it? As I said throughout the video, I think the pacing could have been better. I didn't like how the fights were so dispersed. I think there should have been one climax instead of multiple ones, and the fight with Fiora was way too long. I think it should have been fused with the final fight with Zod and taking down the machines. Taking down the machines was also kind of anticlimactic. It should have happened faster, and there were too many breaks in between where we saw different perspectives. It should have just mostly been from Superman's perspective, and it should have been relatively faster. I still think the worst part of the movie was the Feora part because it dragged really, really long. But overall, this was pretty good. This was a lot better than I expected. I expected something like 2003 Ang Lee's Hulk, which was really, really long and meandering, because I heard a lot of people saying this was meandering. And it was, but it wasn't as meandering as Hulk from 2003. I didn't like this. I mean, the metaphor of him being an alien who is sent here to Earth to do good is respected. It's done well. And yes, while the analogy, as Tete would say, is not as clear as it would be in the Golden Age comics, it's still pretty clear to me. Um, Lois, I did like how she is still pretty spunky and pretty aggressive in certain aspects, but at the same time, she's also more subdued. So it's a different take on her, but she is not as introverted as I thought she would be, because Tete described her as someone who is, very different from how she was in Golden Age. And I think there are more similarities than you would think, because they are both pretty aggressive when it comes to pursuing leads. And I think the main difference is that she's quieter when she speaks and she's not as feisty, but she can be feisty, as we've seen throughout the movie, when people are saying bullshit and when stuff needs to get done. Superman himself, he is more contemplative, I think, more angsty, definitely. And he is someone who questions himself a lot, which is something that we don't really get to see in many adaptations, especially Silver Age adaptations. So I really appreciate this. And I think he is, as Tete described him, ambivert, mostly, I think, kind of introverted too, which is different from the kind of Superman we usually see, who is pretty outgoing and, very self assured mostly. So this wasn't bad. In general, I would say this is probably 7 out of 10. I think I docked three stars for the bad pacing, especially for the fights, and everything else is pretty good. I think the main problem with this movie, like I said, is the pacing, and also the fact that the action doesn't really start until much later, which gives this movie a very slow feel, especially at the beginning, which was necessary to establish the character and what he's going up against. But it's strange that all of the action takes place in the later half of the movie. I was looking at the timeline when watching, and I noticed that all the fights and Zod only appeared in the second hour of the movie, while there was almost nothing at the beginning. I think there should have been more hints that he was coming onto the scene earlier on, so we know what we're going against, and it just feels more thematically aligned. Because if you're like, the first half of the movie is just him, just Superman trying to discover his origins and these other things, and then the last part of the movie is all these fights, it just feels very distributed. It would be better if there were more of each in each part of the movie, if that makes sense. And the last scene with Zod was also way too long. It was repetitive as well, with all the slamming each other into the buildings, and it also felt like none of them were seriously getting hurt. I noticed that in a lot of Marvel movies I watched, such as the Spider-Man ones, you can feel the pain that each character is going through as they're getting slammed. But here, it doesn't feel like they're getting hurt. I mean, I get that they are very powerful. You know, they're Kryptonians who don't get hurt easily, so you don't see that much blood or anything, or any blood at all. But it just feels like you can't really feel their pain as they're getting slammed, especially that last part with Zod and Superman choking his neck back. It felt so anticlimactic. I mean, I don't think I've seen that in a superhero movie yet. You know, all of them have been very good with the action scenes, but here the action doesn't quite deliver. You're not really at the edge of your seats, and you just feel like, okay, when is this action scene going to end? It's dragging on really long. Okay, I get the point. They're really strong, but it doesn't hurt. Okay, like for example, Batman 2022, every death, every hit felt, you can feel the pain of the characters. I mean, it is different because they didn't have superpowers, but still, I mean, Spider-Man, I thought it was easier to feel the pain of the characters, but here it just feels like, oh yeah, explosions and then throwing each other from building to building, and suddenly Zod dies at the end. Just whatever. It just didn't feel convincing. So yeah, 7 out of 10, and this is better than I expected. So the next movie I will review is Batman vs. Superman, and I will see how Batman challenges Superman's ideals and how Superman continues to believe that he is fighting for Earth, right? And for what needs to be done, and how he's the hope of humanity, and how Batman will challenge that, even though he is not a villain. All right, thank you guys. See you next time.